Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast.
Hobby Breakfast Show. It's
Kicking off
John
your
Snow.
morning with Wargaming Chat. Your host, as always, myself, Jon Snow,
You're my queen.
14, and the mayor.
Hello.
On today's show,
Sure.
looking at the Easterlings Legendary Legion, the host of the Dragon Emperor, accompanied by it's gone a little bit. It sounds a bit Welsh. Good morning, welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show. Keeping up your morning with Wargaming Chat. Your hosts, as always, this week are myself, Onod. We also have OT.
Hi.
And we have the mayor.
Hello.
I do just edit out those silences.
Damn it.
And yes, we're back to Legendary Legions. I'm sure everyone's
Finally.
very excited. We're going to be talking about Host of the Dragon Emperor. Good. that was uncoordinated.
We're more impartial than the
not,
BBC.
Not planned, yeah. And
wow.
It's called me Gary Lineker.
Topical.
We're also going to be looking at the Defenders of Erebor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, stay tuned.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Or don't. Or use your time wisely.
Yeah. Right, it is hobby. Oh, have either of you done me?
No.
Yes. I have painted 2 Space Marines, which brings my number of Space Marines up to 3 Space Marines.
Oh no.
Space Marines!
Oh no.
Yes.
Moving swiftly on. We'll
Insert a picture here.
We'll put photos up. What sorts? Oh, are they the Blood Angels?
Blood Angels. Henry Cavill's favourite.
Yeah.
If we're not counting the gold ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I've been selling 40k stuff this week.
Have you? What have you been selling?
As much of it as possible.
I didn't even know you had any left. Did you have? Oh, you had Space Marines and
I had.
Right?
I also had a little bit of leftover Space Marines from the first time round, and some Chaos Space Marines that I got during lockdown because I was like, 8th edition's quite fun, and then 9th edition came out, and I was like, oh,
that's not fun.
And then I lost interest in 40k completely because I was like, I can't be asked at this. So yeah, but actually, some of the stuff I've got, because it's now been repackaged into more expensive shit, I might actually get a fair amount from it. So it's not all trash, and I might sell my Eldar. I haven't decided yet.
You should just keep some for Kill Team, just in case.
Well,
you want to tell the listeners what you're selling it in aid of?
In aid of getting around my rule that I'm not allowed to buy any models till June.
Yeah,
I've reasoned that if I sell models and use that money to
it's
buy
net
them,
zero, isn't it? It's like carbon offsetting in Qatar.
Yeah, it's about ensuring that you don't spend money that isn't already in the special
hobby account that
exactly
your significant others can't see.
Yeah, so that's why I'm doing that. So yeah, fun times. Oh look, I painted more animals. Here is a squirrel. Wow,
That's good.
Much squirrel, much tail. It's a little alchemist. He's quite fun.
He has little bombs of potion.
Yeah, and he's got a tiny little. It's not really a dagger.
It's a shiv.
Yeah.
Is
he's also got like a cool little backpack with a barrel on.
What spell does he have?
Oh, I don't know. He is a magic caster in the warband that he's part of, but I can't remember what I gave him. Something
good.
Bad.
I wish I had a picture of the barrel on his back. That sounds cool.
Yes, but I couldn't be asked to take a photo of that side, so you're stuck with this one.
Good.
Did you not paint any dwarves?
No, I've not done shit.
But like from the last time we discussed this, you probably have, because I don't think you're dwarves have featured on the podcast yet, have they?
I've painted one dwarf, but I did that about 3 weeks ago.
Did it feature on the podcast?
No, but I mean, I can put a photo up here if I can be bothered,
You
but I
might as
don't know.
well.
Yeah, okay.
It helps,
So I've painted a dwarf. Doesn't he look good? Tasty, tasty
He
dwarves.
looks dwarvish.
Yeah. Well, I was going to paint up a shitload of thralls, but then Mare was like, do you want to take Dead of Dunharrow instead? And I was like, yeah, because that means I don't have to do the painting for it.
But you are going to paint them eventually anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, I know, but I can't be bothered. I've done a lot of painting recently. I'm quite tired.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm oversharing.
Please
tell us about your problems. This podcast is just a forum for our problems, really. So, you know,
it's true.
Mostly the financial woes caused by our crippling hobby addiction. Today, I sold part of my liver to fund the Dragon Emperor.
Living in a cardboard box that he bought from Games Workshop. Yeah, let's move on then. Good. Wasn't that a hobby section?
Again,
we are
another hobby section for the list.
We are going to be looking at Defenders of Erebor first. Oh, look at this. Taking mediocre hobbits and turning it into premium War of the Ring. Which of you is taking us through this? I think maybe OT should take us through this because he enjoys dwarves.
Right, that means I have to do the fucking Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, it's probably better you do this than I do the Dragon Emperor because I'm not sure that would be.
That is actually true. Yeah.
OT would have a fit. Well, having now played the Dragon Emperor, I can confirm he good, but he not OP.
As long as your opponents never played the game.
I think he OP,
one of our
but List not OP.
Played the game. One of our opponents was very experienced, and he was making the decision.
Well, and because in doubles you just play the best player, you don't actually play them as a pair.
Let's not just turn this into the episode that would have immediately gone out before this.
Well, possibly, unless it didn't.
Well, it might come out immediately after this, in which case we still don't want to reuse the content.
No, heaven forbid. Right.
So, what are the army bonuses or Legendary Legion bonuses for Defenders of Erebor? Erebor being defended defensively.
Right. So it is Dale and Iron Hills, except it's not Iron Hills because it's in War of the Ring. I think. So Dane Ironfoot, King Under the Mountain, has to be in it. And no, he doesn't. I'm telling a lie. Right, we're going to start this again because you've
just read it.
King of the North.
Jon Snow.
Dane, King of the North.
We've broken OT.
We have. It's okay. It was bound to happen. We'll just get a new host. Sebastian's probably. He'd know what he's talking about as well.
He would. I did have the books. So. A Defenders of Erebor force must always contain at least one named Erebor hero model and at least one named Dale hero model. Only Erebor hero models may lead Erebor warriors. Only Dale hero models may lead Dale warrior models. All models with the Iron Hills keyword replace it with Erebor. So they use the Iron Hills models, but they are Erebor. Your hero options, so you got Dane Ironfoot, King Under the Mountain, or Thorin Stonehelm. Then you got Dwalin, Champion of Erebor, Biffa, Champion of Erebor, Botha, Champion of Erebor, Norri, Champion of Erebor, Dorri, Champion of Erebor, Gloin, Champion of Erebor. Then you can have an Iron Hills Captain who can take a War Goat, and you can swap his War Spear for a Mattock if you want to. Then your Dale options, you can have Brand, King of Dale, then Bard II, Prince of Dale. Captain of Dale, who can take a bow and a shield. Then your warrior options, you can have an Iron Hills Dwarf, who can take a banner, a crossbow, spear, or a shield. You can swap his shield for a mattock. You can take an Iron Hills Goat Rider. You can take a Warrior of Dale with Warhorn, banner, Escroth bow, shield, or spear. And then you can also take the Knights of Dale as well.
I have a very quick question, sorry, just before you continue. What the hell is an Escroth bow?
So it is an elf bow.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
It's a long bow.
Please continue.
So it's one of the things that makes Dale really good is they get cheap elf bows. But it's a 3-up with the army bonus. So your rules are long-standing alliance. Dale models within 1 inch of an Erebor model may reroll 1s during the fight phase, and vice versa. So essentially, because it's not warriors either, it's just heroes as well can do that. So it's a slightly different version of animosity. So you don't get +1 to wound or whatever it was. I think it's +1 to wound, but it's easier to achieve. Bond forged in war. Essentially, if Dane or Brand would be trapped, you can call free heroic combat to try and rescue them with the other one. So that's just quite a nice themey thing, because especially as I think in the story they do end up trapped and have to try and fight for each other.
They die.
You can trap your own model as well, so you can
Yeah.
trigger it.
Yeah.
Heirs to the Kingdom, same rule applies to Thorin 2 or Bard 2 as well. Thorin the Third or Bard 2 as well. So you just get that as well if they're trapped. And then all your heroes count as banners, which is really nice. They're 3-inch banners, but it's still really nice. Probably means you save 25 points here and there to spend on more warriors.
Do they count as banner?
Yeah, you want a banner for game purposes, they don't you?
They count as being in range of a banner. They aren't banners.
So you'll still
okay.
one.
Yeah. Seems fine. I mean, you still get like all the Erebor stuff. I think Dane and Thorin are like slightly worse, but not that much worse versions of themselves. Like Dane, I think is just mostly flat out worse.
Dane is a hefty debuff on his pig form.
Yeah.
He loses all of his like good rules basically.
But he's still like a 130 point dwarf who's just gonna fuck shit up. And Thorin, so I have played against the Thorin, and I could not kill him.
He's got quite a
really
fun
good.
rule, doesn't he?
He is good. So he can on a 5-up he keeps his might that he spends basically on. Is that on heroics only, or is that it's on heroics? Right?
Whenever he declares heroic action, roll a d6.
What heroics does he have? Remind me.
He has strike, strength, and defense.
So like
nice.
some good ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably you're not gonna have anyone with March unless you take a captain.
Yep.
And you have to include at least one Erebor hero and one Dale hero. So you don't have to have the two dads, as it were. You could have their offspring.
But you'd want the pairs because then you get the heroic combat synergy. So you need either Dane and Dane and Brand, or Thorin and Bard.
You're probably taking Thorin and Bard, aren't you? For the most part.
I think you are,
I think they're just a little bit better.
Here's my question. Because if you want to make best use out of the heroes, get the free heroic combat, so you are incentivized to try and trap your models. Does that lead you to making poor gameplay decisions in the interest of trying to pop a rule over just playing the game normally and potentially doing better?
I mean, because you have you can trap them just with like 2 spear support, for example, but you have control over that for the most part.
True.
If you sent him into like 2 guys and you were confident that you were going to get it, I mean, does he count as being in range of himself for the banner reasons, or is it only troops? Friendly models within 3, so that includes himself. So 3 attacks, rerolling one spear support against troops. If you're fighting 2 troops, then you're fairly sure that you're going to get that. And as you're not using might, you can more freely use might to win the combat. So
spear support definitely make you count as trap then.
I think you need 2 spear support, but also I think backing away is voluntary. So, but I don't know if before combat, because you've got to call it before, don't you?
It would be trapped before combat. So
I think
you need to have 2 models deep so that they can't back.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, that would be a surefire way of doing it for sure.
You're committing like 4 models to not be in combat to ensure that he's there.
Just one. If you've got a front row, which he's in, and then line of spear support, and then one extra model, which could be anything behind that. So you're only wasting 1 model to get a free combat, basically.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty good. Having free combats with like such a powerful hero is really nice. The combat, I mean, do Dale kind of shore up any weaknesses of the dwarves? I mean, they've got good bows. Dwarves could have crossbows, though, I suppose.
I think strength 3 bows being able to move is quite good, isn't it? And the knights offer something.
And it's cheaper spear supports than having to have loads of dwarves. Because dwarves with a spear, 12 points. Warrior of Dale with a spear, 8 points. So, I mean, that's like, what, 2/3 the price? So you're probably going to be doing that for your spear supports. And you can take the knights, which are still cheaper than the Ironhill Dwarves.
Yeah,
but you get the
+1 to wounds if you're charged.
Yeah, the only thing that I mean, maybe you take some of those for like the flanks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're only D6 strength 3.
Fight 4 though, and
but then your whole army's fight 4.
A flat +1 to wound is better than strength 4, right?
Yeah, but that relies on you being charged, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, OT and I have both played against this list with some of these in, and when I played it, I pretty much ignored them until, because my opponent was so keen on me charging them that even when he had priority, he didn't really charge me with them. So I was just like, okay, I'll just kill everything else then. I don't know how they fared in your game, OT.
I almost feel like this list incentivizes you to not play very well.
It is tricky to decide. You know, it's. I mean, what are you paying for the rule, really? Would that be a 10-point model otherwise? In which case...
Compare it to a Rohan Royal Guard. So Rohan Royal Guard, if you took a throwing spear, would be 12 points. But they would get the bodyguard special rule.
I mean, it's a good rule to have. Would I pick it optionally as an upgrade? Maybe. Maybe on some dudes. I mean, I guess that's why you maybe take some of those, and then you just take lots of warriors with spear to back up the front row of dwarves.
The problem is with the Knights of Dale is I think they also spend, I don't think it's like a full point, but they also have a spear, and like I don't ever think you're putting these guys in the back line in this army.
I think
it feels like the list. I mean, maybe you need a couple of them, but it feels like I would do dwarves in the front line, and then
spears in the back.
And then because also you can put moving bows in the back as well, so you could try and keep like a rough formation and have those spears in behind.
What would have been really nice is if they could have it even if they're spear supporting.
Yeah.
But it's only if you get they themselves get charged.
That would then be very strong.
It would be too strong, probably.
You'd probably have to knock them up to 12 points. Well, maybe at 12 points they might be very good. I don't really know.
Well, the thing is, then you would argue, would you just prefer to have the Ironhill Dwarves with a guaranteed strength 4 as opposed to, because sometimes you're going to want to take positions and you're going to want to charge your opponent, in which case you're now strength 3 instead of strength 4 and worse defense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe I reckon each warband probably has one or two of them as a
deterrent.
a utility, a deterrent. Put them on an objective. It'll make them better. You take a few of them, but you wouldn't have a whole battle line of them. I don't think.
No, probably not.
The reroll to wounds is pretty nice. Is that including spear sports? Did we say?
Yeah. So if they're within 1 inch of another model, they get it.
So okay, just if they're within an inch. Okay.
So that's why I think you're incentivized to like pair them off as much as you can, because that just makes it easier to manage as well.
Yeah, although I think that's really nice.
For say like a Maelstrom mission, it's a bit annoying that you can't put mixed warbands. So there are going to be certain games where you end up with your dwarfs and your Dale on opposite board edges, and they don't get any of their bonuses other than the banners.
I mean, I think in this list, I think you would actually put in the 2 named heroes, and then wherever possible fit in some captains to try and get the march in, because I think otherwise you've got no cav apart from maybe a couple of goat riders. I think you would actually struggle, as we're saying, to like link up and get into a decent formation.
Yeah, I think maybe your plan has to not necessarily be that they're always going to be moving around together. Yeah, because it's a lot of points to have in a block as well. Like, you think about some lists, that do well if they're all hero and they're fucking going all over the place on the board, aren't they? And you don't want to restrict yourself to your game plan, like when you played that doubles game, and they obviously had a very set idea of how their game was going to go and how they were going to try and use their models, and it wasn't what they were playing in front of them. So, but I mean, these forces are still strong, like in themselves. They don't necessarily need that buff.
I think that there definitely is a case for you build the warband so that they can work alone, and then they can get the bonuses if they work together.
Yeah,
it is interesting they made the design decision to deliberately make it so that you couldn't mix warbands, because I guess then it would just be too easy, wouldn't it? It would just be
yeah. You'd have a pre-setup, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you just do the list building stage. But yeah,
Mm.
what do we think of model range collecting standpoint? It's not going to be the cheapest if you are buying the Forge World stuff.
I think it'd be very expensive.
But because they're quite high point models for the most part, aren't they?
Yeah, it's and obviously if you're not getting knights, the day will have the plastic box set, so that will save you a bit of.
Which is a nice plastic box set, by the way. Having bought one, I can confirm.
The modern Hobbit plastic.
I forgot you had those.
Yeah,
he's got everything nowadays.
Yep.
I know.
Don't need any of it.
The whole collection.
Yeah. I mean, the models are all cool. Like, I think it would look like a really cool army, and like when I faced this across the table, I thought it looked really cool. You do just pay a bit of a price for it. Like, a lot of it's Forge World, which is a pain in the ass. And
I do really like the hero sculpts though. Dane and Thorin are a really nice kind of blend between the Khazad-dûm dwarfs and the Hobbit dwarfs.
Yeah, especially Dane.
Yeah, they like sit in like a really nice spot, and King Brand and Bard are quite nice as well.
Even the Dale Captain's a nice sculpt. Like, they're all It's a good example of the modern sculpting, I think.
Yeah, but the Iron Hills are definitely cost this.
Yeah,
quite
literally.
considerably. Yeah. We'll come back to discuss kind of how you'd maybe start this and stuff when we do that with the Eastlings. So let's sally over to the big boy himself,
the Dragon Emperor.
The Dragon Emperor and his host.
So,
fucking enormous list of bullshit they get.
Yeah. So, additional rules first. You've got to have the Dragon Emperor. Surprise, surprise. He's also your army leader. What another big surprise. That's the only restriction.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're ever going to take the Dragon Emperor, you take this Legion.
We'll come back to that.
Interesting. So you take Dragon Emperor. You can have Ratabi, Brogir. You can take Eastling Dragon Knights with their horses. Eastling Captains with the usual stuff. War Priests with Armored Horse. Eastling Warriors. Eastling Cataphracts. Dragon Cult Acolytes. And the Runish War Drakes. You can obviously upgrade your warriors to Black Dragons. So special rules. The Dragon Cults, Eastling Warriors and Eastling Cataphracts in warbands led by the Dragon Emperor or Eastling Dragon Knights do not need to pay the points to be upgraded to Black Dragons. This upgrade is free. So essentially, if you've got like 12 guys at least in each, that's 24 points each. So it's like 50 points of free upgrades. Heroes of the Eastlings. Eastling models may reroll a d6 in a dual roll. That's heroes, sorry, not just all models. That would be insane. Eastling hero models may reroll a d6 in a dual roll, so everyone basically has an extra attack when it comes to the duel. No quarter was asked. Eastling models receive +1 courage when their force is broken. Additionally, once per game, in scenarios in which a dice is rolled to see when the game ends, so long as at least one friendly Eastling hero model is alive and on the battlefield, the Eastling player may choose to have the dice re-rolled in this if the scenario ends before they wish it to. I've actually not really played against many Eastlings, and that rule's never come up for me.
Which rule's that? Sorry.
The re-roll.
It's the army bonus. So yeah.
The re-roll.
It's quite nice. I mean, in a clutch situation, you might want the game to end or not end, and the extra courage is nice, but that's obviously the usual thing. So bonuses being heroes reroll a d6 in for their duel, and free Black Dragon upgrade. So actually, I mean, those bonuses aren't insane, but also you don't really need them to be, do you? And I feel like army list composition wise, you've got pretty much everything you need. Like I wouldn't say I'm desperate for anything else in that list.
No Kamal.
Yeah.
Well,
might be nice.
that's good. It would be nice to have him in there potentially, but you've also got another big spellcaster. But I mean, people don't really take Kummel competitively, so I don't know if it would be a problem.
I'm not sure Broger is that competitive.
No. I think he's solid, but I don't think he's outrageous.
He doesn't have enough will.
No.
He's got 6 will.
In our because we played him, and because what he has is quite reliant on him like getting some nice like damage off with his like tremor and stuff. But what we found is that because he has, because like if you think about like evil spellcasters, which are the really scary ones, you're either thinking of like a Nazgul who can just spam will, like have loads. Saruman because he's got the 3/1 rerolls, and then someone like Kardush because he can like kill an orc. What we found with Brogir is that he would do something like Tremor. He'd want to roll loads of dice at it to get it off, and then he would be afraid of targeting a hero because he didn't want you to then just roll. So actually, he didn't really do too much against us. And I guess that's partly because of the thing. I know that he can get a will point. He has a thing where he can get a will point back, doesn't he? If he can roll 6
on an @6, yeah. But like, I mean, he his tremor's on a 5, and I mean, my assumption with this a lot of the time is you're probably maybe channeling Fury. I don't know if you bother channeling it. Maybe you do. And then I don't know, Blade Wrath, Enchanted Blades, they go off on lower ones, but yeah, I feel like he does only have 5 will, and I guess you're getting you're probably getting like 1 back on average, maybe 2, but
like so I played against him as well, and he absolutely decimated my goblins, obviously, and Tremor was a big part of that. But that player also came second in the tournament after 7 games, and i.e. won all their games and drew one of them, using just Brogir and Ratabi. And he said that in the last game, Brogir just tremored Gilgalad to death. So like it's possible, and also Fury is super useful. 2 might as well, like on a spellcaster, is pretty good. I think Brogir is really good and Ratabi is really good, but
yeah, I always feel like they're better than the Dragon Emperor.
Well, no.
Well,
Brogir's not better than the Dragon Emperor. Ratabi is.
I think an Easlings list where you can take Ratabi and Amda potentially is more useful.
I mean, you can just. Well, I'm not sure about Amda. I mean, Amda is okay, but he's also a lot of points, and you don't have to go much further to then have the Dragon Emperor. So
yeah, but he comes on a horse, and I actually think that's the worst thing about the Dragon Emperor is the 80 mil base. It's good for banner, and then everything else, it's kind of it just gets in the way.
But I think the banner's enough.
I don't buy into this. I'm gonna spend take Bjornings and you get it for free, mate, and it's board wide. I don't buy into this.
But don't compare a list to Bjornings. Like that's not a good place to start.
I don't buy into this. I'm going to spend almost 200 points to get a banner. That's not a good investment of points.
But then it's a banner that's fucking nails and resistant to magic.
But you just ignore him.
And it's 6 extra dudes.
Like imagine in the game that we played against him, if you hadn't left Elrond, he would have never got into combat.
Apart from at the end where he steamrolled Aragorn.
We wouldn't needed to have done that if Elrond had run out, because we would have just run over to the far objective and left the Dragon Emperor on his own in the middle.
But then they still would have had more objectives than us.
No, we'd have had 3, and they'd have had 2.
We've got a whole episode about the Dragon Emperor, so let's just gloss over that a little bit. It's strong. Like the list is strong. The special rules
Lots
are
of people are taking it.
Lots of people are taking it. So I think
Jeez.
based on that and based on the amount of people who are more competitive taking it, I don't know if they're just caught up by the hype, but obviously, you don't really see many vanilla lists with Amdur anymore. I think there's probably a reason for that. I mean, the Host of the Dragon Emperor is really good. Does it need to be here? Maybe, so there's an incentive to take the Dragon Emperor with dudes as opposed to having some kind of weird combination with the Dragon Emperor and something else that might be less fluffy but more powerful. I don't know.
This is why I think that you will see people, once the Legendary Legion loses its shiny newness, will start running Dragon Emperor outside of it.
And what do you think they'll take with them?
I think
Mordor.
ally in Mordor.
Okay. What for model count?
Model count, and also an element of bringing so much big stuff that your opponent just can't deal with it.
Model green.
Dragon Emperor Witch King for me would be pretty outrageous.
Dragon Emperor, Witch King, Shaggers.
Huge.
Yeah. I mean, and then you've got the fight 5 Eastlings behind like just as many orcs as you want, basically.
Well, stick them either behind Morannon, or even you can put. Can you put Black Nums in? I think you can put Black Numenorians in. Mordor
Or you can just go for model spam and have a back row of orcs getting the Mordor bonus because you're green. Because as long as you outnumber them, and then you get reroll ones. And the Dragon Emperor, is he just a banner to Eastlings, or is he a banner?
I will check.
Good question. But yeah, I mean, I guess there are other combinations you could try and abuse with the Dragon Emperor.
You could also, and I think this would be quite funny, they're green with canned, him and a load of chariot.
I'm not sure that would be very good.
Just
but
obnoxious bases moving around.
That's why I want to see it. Just you can't physically deploy the army because the bases are too big.
It's like 40k. He's just a banner, so not.
In which case, I actually think the Mordor. I almost wonder if you start just seeing him brought into a Mordor.
just him on his own, allied in.
That would be a fucking problem.
A fucking obnoxious, massive banner, which is actually quite good at fighting, gives you an elven weapon, gives you fight 6 character. You just plop him in behind your regular Mordor army, and then you just bring the Witch King as well. And just
this is why in the Dragon Emperor episode, I was saying things like, imagine if he was in a different army, and now you've just made that real. Thanks for that.
In my opinion, the only thing holding him back is that Eastlings aren't very good.
And so you just take Mordor. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think maybe you bring a few Eastlings with pikes to stick in the back line and give you some fight 5, but then you just horde of Mordor orcs and you just fight 5 Morannon. Oof. Spicy with a banner reroll.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
And because you get the really cheap troops and
you
can just spam, you can also take another big hero and just go to your opponent, deal with this. What are you going to do?
Because actually, him and the Witch King as a pair is only going to come in about, 330, 340? That still leaves you a lot of room at higher points, and they're both heroes of legend. Mm-hmm. You could stack some warbands.
Also, Eastlings aren't... They're maybe a point or two more than orcs. More than Morannon orcs, right?
Yeah.
But
so
it's the army bonus.
Yeah.
Because if you can get enough orcs, then you not only get banner on everyone, but you can also reroll ones to wound.
It is the reroll ones to wound. Is that?
It's just for Mordor, but
it's just flat. They don't have to be. They can spear sport and do that, can
they? May reroll ones to wound when making strikes.
Wow. Okay.
I just think you just say fuck off the Eastlings, take a handful as a token, but you just bring the Dragon Emperor. I feel like someone will try this. I might have given people ideas. I probably haven't. People have already thought this. But I think that once the Legendary Legion buzz fades, and because it still hasn't actually won like a GBHL event, it's come second, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But I feel like once people kind of start looking beyond just the like what you could build, and people start looking at just like, oh, I'll just bring it with this, it will become more obnoxious. Because
Who
he's
do you
fine
think's
in E-slings, but I think in Mordor he'd be, yeah.
Who do you think's better, Shagrat or Ratabi?
Ratabi.
Shagrat.
See, I
The
genuinely don't know.
Master Battle's too good.
Then Shagrat comes with Blood and Glory.
Infantry knockdown.
Too situational.
Yeah. I think if you think you're going to go up against lots of crap heroes, obviously you bring Shagrat for the Blood and Glory. But I think actually, yeah, that Master of Battle on Ratabi.
The 3+ Master Battle, it just like gives you such like power through the whole game. You're basically, you're basically Aragorn, aren't you?
Although
As soon
Shagrat
as
does
people
come.
start doing move offs.
Well,
Shagrat has an extra will and fate, but
I mean, Aragorn killed Ratabi in one turn in our game.
yeah, that was a
I know,
little bit lucky. Though.
It was a little bit lucky, but like.
Yeah, but if you're comparing like to like, if they're the only stat differences, but Shagrat has charge and.
Shagrat is also strength 5, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Like they're kind of comparable.
Shaggers is definitely better at killing.
Yeah, I think Ratabi's got better utility.
Ratabi might have better utility.
Ratabi's a pain in the ass to deal with. Like
it makes you not want to call stuff because you know it's almost guaranteed. Like if you're playing against Iron Hills, you're like 50-50 with Dane, one third chance if you've got a captain, I'll probably still call it, and you probably won't get it. Whereas Ratabi, you're like, yeah, you're pretty much guaranteed. So you
it's
don't
not
want
as
to
obnoxious as like Azog though.
No,
but few things are.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I mean, as a Legion, I don't know how I feel about it in terms of its existence, to be honest. I feel like they should have made it so that this is the only way you can take the Dragon Emperor. You have to take him in this Legion, and then that's it.
Is that a bit too restricted, though?
I mean, it would stop some of the power creepness.
Well, no one's yet proven my theory that taking the Dragon Emperor outside of these things.
No, but I also think because it's also quite new. Like we also, I think only 1 or 2 bear lists have won events. So, I mean,
a bear list won the GW event, didn't it? Where you have to take good and evil.
The grand was it the grand tournament? Is that the score? I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, it was Throne of Skulls or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, they also took Black Riders as their other list. So
yeah, I mean, I can pull up the GBHL whilst we're talking to see the winning list this year.
Okay. But yeah, I think bears are in there. But there's also a degree of people not fully understanding yet how to play lists. Like the more time goes on, the better people will get at playing these lists and at understanding how they work. And what goes well with them. Like you said, maybe there'll be a list with the Dragon Emperor and Mordor or something, where people have found, just a slightly better combination that just lets them win a bit easier. And I think the Dragon Emperor is going to be hard to use because of the base and because of you're going to want to try and take advantage of all his rules and all his stuff. Like if you're not doing that and he's basically a banner and you're just using him as a banner, then what are you paying 170 points for? It's all well and good him having an Elven Blade and being resistant to magic, but if he's not going to combat or doing anything else, then he's pretty much useless. You might as well pay 35 points for a couple banners.
Yeah, Bjornings have just won that one event so far in the UK anyway.
So actually, I mean, and the Dragon Emperor will have come close, I'm sure, a couple of times. So
come second a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, so I think people will begin winning with this for sure.
But as I pointed out to OT earlier, Defenders of the Shire came second in one of the GBHL events this year.
But
so
that is only one. That doesn't make the list good.
No, but I'm just saying, like I don't think it's as auto win as maybe people were worried about.
I don't know. Like I think Bjornings is better than Dragon Emperor for me.
And I also think the issue of Dragon Emperor is you run into Assault on Helm's Deep, and that is the tournament overview.
I mean, I have literally played against Dragon Emperor with Assault on Helm's Deep. and I did knock him off the plinth, but I don't think we ended up winning the game.
You know.
No, because I mean they still had a shit ton of Eastlings, so they just kind of ran everywhere regardless and did what they want. But it was one of the weird double scenarios where you have to deploy across from each other, and I think that was our downfall. So, but anyway, so price wise, I mean you're taking some Dragon Knights presumably, and the Dragon Emperor's hella expensive, and so is pretty much everything else in there.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's not good on the scale of things. It must be near the.
I mean, we maths it out earlier, didn't I? Haven't done the spreadsheet on this, but we reckon it's between 350 and 400 quid maybe for like a 700 point list.
It depends how comp you want it. If you want to like say I am only breeding Forge Worlds, the black dragon dudes. Woo,
I mean, you would at least in the Dragon Emperor's warband, wouldn't you?
But then if you're using the official models, it's like it actually it's arguably over 500 quid with certain list combinations.
They're £7.60 a model, and your Legion is making them cheaper to bring, so you then end up more.
So is it the most expensive army?
I think it has to be.
So.
I think it has to
Wow.
be. Like I think it
unless you proxy with the plastic Eastlings.
So that's what I would do. But even then, you're going to struggle to bring it in much under like 300 quid, which is still much more expensive than the others.
If you want the nice looking dismounts, you have to drop £120 on the Dragon Emperor,
which is twice as expensive as the Return of the King Legion.
Yeah, there are Legendary Legions we have spoken about where you can bring the entire Legendary Legion at high points for less than just the leader of this force.
That is pretty horrific.
Like King of the Dead, Box of Ghosts, 3 Hunters.
Yep.
Fellowship.
Like 60, 70 quid, if that.
Yeah, I mean we're taking 1,100 points worth of that, and that's pretty much all I have.
Even Black Riders is cheaper.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, not if you want all 9 and all 9 dismounts, but if you're happy like grabbing a couple dismounts off eBay and then getting the new Witch King and running them just like 5 to 6 cheaper.
Well, I mean, like I said earlier in the group chat, you can do. We've got 3 in Fantastic, which are Return of the King, Assault on Helm's Deep, and Rangers of. Is it the Mirkwood Rangers or whatever it's called?
Mirkwood Rangers is a lot cheaper. You
could do all 3 of those for less than the cost of this Legion.
Yeah, you can run Mirkwood Rangers for £50, right?
Yeah,
or 55 or something like that.
So you could collect like multiple other really good legions for less. You could do 3 other legions for the same cost as this one, if not less. Like, it's in a different league in terms of expenditure.
Ugluk Scouts would be cheaper than just the Dragon Emperor. Like, and these aren't like bad Legendary Legions. They're like arguably would.
Well, these are all ones in Fantastic. Like Fellowship as well is another fantastic one. We rated it like.
Yeah. And arguably, you could beat this Legendary Legion with some of those. Probably not the Fellowship. I think they just get done at Fight 5. Like, it's just too much Fight 5.
Yeah.
For the little hero, like the Hobbits are just getting done, and then Gandalf's. Although you wouldn't have Gandalf in Legendary Legion actually, so maybe Fellowship are okay because they're big heroes of Fight 6. That'd be interesting actually.
You'd get screwed over on model count.
Yeah, I think because they're infantry, they just wouldn't have enough killing power.
No.
Yeah, just
it's a problem.
Kind of crazy how expensive it is actually.
So, are we going to talk about what we changed?
Remove it from the get. No.
Nice.
So let's start with Dragon Emperor. Things we don't like. The Dragon Emperor. Why don't they have a model for the Wardrake yet? That's ridiculous.
I think if there isn't one, that means we're not getting one.
Because why make a profile? It's made up. This is bullshit.
I imagine this is pure speculation, but I imagine what happens in these cases is that in their design window, they either design something which then they couldn't turn into reality, or they just didn't get around to it, but they'd made the profile, so they just shoved it in. And I think that the way that the Middle Earth stuff works is that you just move on to the next project. Because they still haven't made a beach bow model, have they?
No.
Oh yeah.
I think it.
Well, they just forget about it. You reckon?
Yeah, I think they just leave it and they just move on. Because it would be a bit random now, wouldn't it, if they just go, oh, and
If they just dropped it.
Here's this model a year later. You know, go nuts.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just bought a 3D print one now, so.
A change I would make is to make the black dragons only in the Dragon Emperor's Warband
Instead of with the Dragon Knights.
instead of with the Dragon Knights.
Yeah, I mean, is it a big problem having an extra 25 points worth of stuff? I mean, it doesn't help, does it?
I mean, the problem is I don't even think this is necessarily OP.
No.
I just don't like it, and that's different.
I don't like that something like that is free.
I always feel like maybe the Legendary Legion should only have the Dragon Emperor's name character and then keep all of the good stuff about it. If not even add some extra stuff, and then just get rid of like people like Ratabi who are just kind of unnecessarily good on top of the Dragon Emperor.
Does that actually take away from the fluff annoyingly then though?
But it's all invented fluff.
Yes.
I know, but still. But also, I agree.
He's an invented figure who didn't exist prior to this.
I
So
mean, none of this existed, just to be clear.
Someone had the idea to invent this character and liked it, and then went, I want this in my Legendary Legion as well. That's what happened, isn't it?
Make it 10 points cheaper than it should be. I don't know. I just don't. I mean, to be honest, I don't like the Legion anyway, and actually, I can't really see a way to change it in a way that would make me less annoyed at its existence. So I weirdly think it's fine. I did have an idea for a change you could make to the Dragon Emperor though. Instead of making his bubble +1 fight, you can make it +1 strength, and then I think that would help Eastlings out a bit more.
Strength 4. What, as part of the Legion?
So no, as in like, so instead of his bubble his 6-inch bubble being +1 fight, I think you make it +1 strength.
Oh right.
Because then I think that weirdly makes Easterlings,
makes them better. Yeah,
it makes them better. And I think I hate to say it, but like I still don't think Easterlings are like ridiculously good, and it feels weird almost making the Dragon Emperor better. But I think that might give them a little help. But yeah, I don't know.
What if you take this Legion, you get that? So instead of a plus, so it changes the dynamic of how the Dragon Emperor works. If you're taking Dragon Emperor normally, it's +1 fight, because I think it might become more problematic if his. Wait, no, it's just to Eastling models, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. +1 strength to your Urukai.
Or if he's in combat, maybe he gives an additional buff, so you're incentivized to not have him just vibing at the back.
Vibing at the back, yeah.
Which is literally what happened in our game. Like, he got stuck behind a stone pillar for most of the time.
I think he's wasting the back though. I think that's fine. If a player wants to put him at the back, I think you're using him wrong.
No, but as in, so like I think encouraging, because I wonder if I've never played the Dragon Emperor, I don't know what the playstyle is, but like I wonder if one style is to leave him at the back, and maybe the host of Dragon Emperor encourages him to be more upfront, actually killing stuff.
I imagine that if you're playing him properly, you form him with the phalanx on either side, rather than putting him behind a 3 deep phalanx, which you then mean that you can't get through.
Yeah,
I honestly don't think he's worth the points if he's just going to sit about being a banner.
I wonder if you hold him. I wonder if maybe the strategy is hold him back until slightly later game, and then you come in and clean up the heroes who don't have any might left.
Maybe, but then again, he's got such a big base.
Yeah,
I think a lot of, if you're mounting your heroes, which most lists are if they can, they would just go, okay, I will move away from you.
But then also, like, you can park him on an objective and nobody could get to it, like, because.
But again, that's a very expensive way of securing an objective.
But then if there's only one objective,
if there's only for the one scenario where there is the central objective and you have to be within 6 inches of him, he's very useful. Yeah,
there we go, nailed it. OP.
Yeah.
OP confirmed.
They'd still lose to Goblin Town and any other Horde army.
No, Eastlings would beat Goblin Town.
Yeah, they would.
An Eastling Shield Wall would annihilate Goblin Town.
Yeah.
And they did when I played.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to talk about this one really. I just hate it. Like, and
Personally,
it's not a rational thing. It's just feels wrong.
Personally, my honest opinion is that rather than making Legendary Legions for made up bullshit,
Yep.
make,
I like where this
why-
is going.
why didn't they bring out the Elf Legendary Legion for the characters who actually people like and exist?
What would
Why?
you make that? What do you mean?
Like a Lothlorien Legendary Legion.
Defense of Lothlorien. If there's
a
assault on Lothlorien, there should be
Legendary
defense of
Legion,
Lothlorien.
Yeah, that
like-
would be interesting.
a
Elves need it more than Eastlings at this point.
Mirkwood Lothlorien combo Legendary Legions. You could have Galadrim and the Hobbit Elves on the same team.
But then Jay Clare wouldn't be able to
anything-
prove us all wrong by winning with Lothlorien.
I mean,
Anything I've
they even
heard
brought out like the
things.
Three Brothers Legendary Legion or something. Like they get a bonus if they're in range of each other or some shit.
That would be
like,
nice.
I honestly think though, like, make the Dragon Emperor. He's cool. Make Ratabi.
No, he's not.
He's a cool model.
He's a prick.
He's a cool model.
Sorry, just on the point of the model, the fucking Dragon Emperor, the actual dragon, whatever they're called, black dragons,
Yeah.
are fucking huge compared to the normal Eastlings.
Oh,
And yeah, they're giant. I mean, my brother, so Sebastian's been, he showed me a demo model of like a normal Eastling, and then he showed me the fucking black
they
dragon.
do look quite big.
They're
actually.
so out of scale, and also they're so much more detailed than the old Eastling models, to the point that because he's so like anal about his painting in a good way,
The
that
non-metallic metal, yeah.
he's not taking any normal Eastlings because he thinks they look shit compared to the black dragons. So he's just taking black dragons, and he's paying points for them in the warbands that he has to, just so that they can look better. Like, I
It's
hate
also
that
probably
they've made it so
competitively not a
different.
bad idea.
I mean, maybe, but well, actually, I think competitively, you probably have a mix because you don't need the extra fight in most places. Because,
Well,
if you've got a stack of 2 pikes.
You know why they've done this? It's because there's
Money.
still more models.
Yeah.
And by making a model bigger, you can increase the detail on it.
And the price.
Yeah. Although I think Games Workshop just charge what they want now. I don't think there's any rationale behind
Tasty money.
But yeah, in my honest opinion, I think that the Easterlings probably would have been fine if you just brought out the models about Legendary Legion. I think everyone would have been pretty happy just sitting there building their lists in the regular thing and going, hey, look, we got loads of new models. And yeah, we didn't get any Legendary Legion, but that's fine because we're viable now because we have the Dragon Emperor and Ratabi.
But would then as many people brought the Dragon Emperor and Ratabi if there wasn't a Legendary Legion that made them better?
Yeah, true. But then equally, is anyone buying the elf models they brought out for Defense of the North because they didn't bring out Legendary Legion? Probably not, because I imagine.
Well, but I mean, Orifin is what? Probably 15 quid. The Dragon Emperor is 120.
Yeah, but they brought out like the Palace Guard, and my point is not the models they brought out. My point is they could have designed a whole elf range that would probably be more popular than the Dragon Emperor because people don't really massively care about Eastlings until suddenly they became the new thing that everyone had to do.
Yeah. Oh well.
I'd love to see how many they'd sold. I would be fascinated because I reckon it's either loads or it's like 100.
Or like
it must be a lot.
I feel like they're too common for it to be like a low amount.
Yeah.
But do you think when you say they're common, that's because you're going to a tournament and those are the only people buying them, because normal people will not spend that much money?
What you're saying? People who go to tournaments aren't normal.
You can get a 3D printed Dragon Emperor for £30.
You can get,
yeah, but a lot of people are purists who want to, for some reason, support GW and or actually go to their tournaments.
I realise that, but I'm like just saying, like, are there enough of those people who also want to play Eastlings who also go to sweaty tournaments for them to sell a shit ton of Dragon Emperors? They didn't increase his price in the latest price increase, which I thought
that's because he's already a rip-off.
I was going to say, like, can you imagine if they'd pushed the base one up to 100?
Do you not think that says to me that they want to try and make his price seem more competitive because they haven't sold enough of him yet?
Well, but also, I mean, if they're inflating the rest of the prices, keeping the other price the same, like, is it like now like a better deal because it didn't get more expensive? Yeah, like, exactly. But
they do that, but because they haven't sold enough of them, so they want him to look like a better deal now.
I imagine their margins on the Dragon Emperor are already pretty good.
Oh yeah, I imagine they probably don't need to sell many of him to make a profit because it's resin, so the molds are a lot cheaper than plastic.
Anyway, that was conspiracy theory time.
Should we do the Dwarf Dale one and discuss?
Yeah, let's talk about how to fix that.
Does it need fixing?
No, it was a trick question.
Oh, sorry, I fell for your trap. Your trap card.
What could you
do? My
do?
trap card. You've activated my trap card. Bottomless trap hole.
Right.
Real card for those who aren't in the know.
How could we fix it? What would we change? Make the Forge World Dwarves half the price, because then people would actually be able to play them.
I would have liked to have seen personally them use the plastic dwarf kit from Thralls as the era dwarves.
What as in the Warriors of Erebor or the Grimhammers?
Both.
Definitely not the Grimhammers. That was an old timey thing. That time is done. Whereas the Warriors of Erebor are generic enough to potentially be new guys.
They live in Erebor now.
But no, because also it's King Dane. Dane is Iron Hills, therefore he has his Iron Hills dudes.
All I'm saying is in the film, which was fantastic and I really enjoyed, when they
film was that?
When they went to Erebor, I distinctly remember that Smaug had conveniently left all of their armor and weapons untouched, and they dressed up in them.
Oh, so you think after all the decades of developing their armor that they come back to Erebor and they're like, oh, look at this shit armor, let me just put this on.
No, you're getting it the wrong way around. Erebor was superior. It was the pinnacle of dwarvish places. The Iron Hills was a shithole that no one cared about.
But
the king under the mountain.
If you spent decades wearing armor and going to battle in that armor, you wouldn't go to some shithole and then be like, "Oh, this armor's okay."
It
had a big pole of solid gold on the floor.
Right. I'm going to get the Warriors of Erebor models up because I don't think they're that good.
I'm not saying that the fucking plastic models are phenomenally well done. I'm just saying that it made the fucking list cheaper.
They're cool.
And
it would have made it cheaper, but
as somebody who owns both of those as well,
these models are nowhere near armored enough.
Why is it that the people of Lake Town suddenly start dressing in their old armor and the dwarves don't? Then riddle me that.
Dwarves are smarter than the people of Lake Town. No,
it's a fair question. It's a fair question. I don't know.
Actually, I think you'll find in the cinematic epic,
it's because
the Desolation of Smaug.
In the award-winning Hobbit films,
did they win any awards?
No.
Yeah.
So the
most disappointing release of the last 20 years.
So the Warriors of Dale. I mean, they did bring out new models for them for this Legion, pretty much. But I'm guessing, I'm guessing they're keeping the old ones because, I mean, it just makes sense from their production line. And they probably aren't selling that many Warriors of Dale, let's be honest, without this Legion. So that'll be why they've done it.
I don't think they're selling many Hobbit models without these Legions.
No. But I mean,
they just released this out of the goodness of their hearts and their love for the theme. It wasn't a poorly judged.
I reckon a Games Workshop makes more money off of their old knackered plastic Lord of the Rings models than they do their modern Hobbit ones.
Of course they do. There's nowhere near. I mean, so few people look back on the Hobbit fondly and be like, "Oh, I need a bit of that in my life."
But the Hobbit army's better, so.
I reckon people under the age of 20 do. So people coming into the hobby might be more generous towards the Hobbit than us.
Yeah, I imagine there are some people who have seen the Hobbit movies and not the Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
imagine that.
I don't want to be friends with them.
No. Well, so coming back to the Legion, then, I think that you should buff the Knights of Dale to have their rule if they're supporting.
I think they should get the hatred Dragon Emperor keyword. just
the whole army. I think every other army should just have that.
Yeah.
In fact, that should be a rule that comes with the Dragon Emperor.
What,
Your opponent...
you always get +1 to
Yeah.
wound.
When
everyone has
OT
+1 to wound.
When OT gets a model, that will be his rule. He'll just be a fucking dwarf that has hatred Dragon Emperor.
Yeah.
And bear. Hatred bear.
I don't hate the bears that much.
Oh,
Bears are fine.
You know what we should do? We should make... no, this sounds stupid. We should make a little profile and a little model for each of us.
Oh, we should.
Some house rule models.
Have the requisite skill to make models, but...
Well,
I mean,
We
unless
include
you're...
things about, like,
I
crippling
have a
alcohol.
3D printer. I don't understand.
Okay, here we go. So I would be an Ent.
Yeah, so that would be OP.
But just
Yeah.
like, what's the drink the Ents have?
I'd have to be
that
the
makes them
best
fit
hobbit
for you?
ever.
I could be a young Ent.
Oh yeah, you could be a sapling. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
What are they called? What are they called? The Huorns.
Huorns are trees, though, that can speak. They aren't... Well, they might be...
That's
Ents
very much
that-
how I see you.
They might be Ents that have become tree-ish.
Yeah. Anyway, we're sidebarring.
A young Ent is called an Entling.
That's a very creative name.
Yeah, it is. It's good, isn't
I
it?
think they should get the heroic combat even if they're not trapped. Just if the other one's in combat, then you get to combat. No, that's...
I like the trapped thing. I think it's themey.
Yeah, okay. But the fact you can trap yourself is a bit like, wow.
Yeah, but
Maybe
then
they should get
otherwise you would
+1 to
never
wound
get
if they're
that rule.
trapped.
+1 to wound if they're trapped.
How often would they both
yeah,
be
maybe.
still alive on the boards and both be in a situation where they could then trap and be able to use that rule if you weren't able to trap yourself, though?
As in, how often will it happen naturally?
Yeah, not like maybe once a game.
Yeah, and it's only really if you're losing, probably. But
Yeah,
my point
so-
is, this rule's only mainly going to come in when you're trapping yourself, which doesn't feel that fluffy, which is why I feel like that's the only thing I'd probably change.
Okay.
But I don't know if you change it. Maybe it's whoever has less kills, like Gimli and Legolas, can free her at combat if they're both in combat at the same time, not with the same people. So they're sort of competing, for lack of a better word. But then it's less like they're saving each other and more like they're just Gimli and Legolas.
Or they could fly into a rage if the other one's killed, a bit like with Éomer and Éowyn or something. They get like +1 to wound, or they have to charge the model that killed them or something.
Or they get a bonus when they're in base contact with each other, back to back.
Or you put a token down when one of them dies, and the other one is fearless and gets +1 to wound within 6 inches of that token, or 3 inches of that
I
token.
like that. Yeah.
I feel like this is very similar to the conversation we had about animosity, where it's creating an overly complicated rule because something which is fine for fluffy reasons isn't perfect because it doesn't represent them eating a fucking hobbit or something argument.
I think that was some of our best content.
Yeah, it was definitely our most confusing content.
Yeah, well, that's what we're all about.
Even more than heroic, whatever your anti-move. I always forget what it's called.
Heroic patience is really straightforforward. You're
It has
the one at fault here.
Sebastian's seal of approval. So.
Yeah, but he didn't really understand, did he? He's just being polite because he's a nice person.
It was a good idea.
Yeah, he's just being polite. It's a shit idea.
He just wanted you to stop talking. He was like, "Yeah, that sounds great."
Yeah, he's like,
"Can I have my money now, please?"
Yeah, so I mean, patience would. I like it theoretically, but I don't think it would work in practice. Anyway, should we just move on to rating these? Because okay, so Defenders of Erebor.
Into the next edition, you will be,
Yep, Defenders of Erebor. So why don't you read about what's fantastic, good, average, whiff? What do these things mean? How are we ranking these?
It's been a while since we've done this, so I might just quickly need to refresh my memory about what we're doing.
10,000 years later.
I'm going to put in an edit there.
Yeah, 10,000 years later.
Very important to stress that this is not going to be ranked competitively because I can see someone in the comments. Oh yeah.
What do you mean ranked competitively?
As in, we're not ranking the Dragon Emperor.
From a competitive standpoint.
At the top of Fantastic, just because it's decent.
Yeah, there are other criteria which we're considering here,
So
including.
Fantastic.
Did you hear that?
Very good all round. Good in game, fluffy, fun to paint and collect, and reasonably-ish priced as far as this hobby goes, because obviously everything is expensive to some extent. Solid it's kind of done most of those things, but there's a couple where we critique it for. Average is starting to get into the region of you only really want to take this over the regular army if you really love the specific niche fluffy thing, but it probably doesn't really offer you much else in the way of gameplay or collecting necessarily. And then whiff is shit. And you'll have on screen and you'll be able to look at whiff and go, yes, I agree with that.
Yep, even though Men of the West won.
Especially Azog's Legion.
Yep.
Which
for some reason we hate.
Yeah, because we hate the Hobbit. Good. Where are we going to put the Easterlings?
The Dragon Emperor. Well, let's let OT go last, because I feel like he should have some kind of deciding vote.
He's going to sabotage it, though.
I would put it in the bottom-ish of average. No, I put it in the middle of average between the Hobbits and Dunland, because no, I put it below that. No, Shark is cool. Just above Lurtz, I reckon.
Just above Lurtz?
Just above Lurtz, yeah.
Fucking hell. You see, I feel like what's happening here is both of you just have it out for the fucking Dragon Emperor. You both hate him with passion.
I do hate him.
I can appreciate that, but I think that we need to be a little less.
Okay, I'm just going to remind you that you deliberately took Theoden's Riders out of Fantastic because it was a little bit more expensive than everything else. Yeah. This is like 4 times as expensive as some of these legions.
I'm not campaigning.
Okay, you know what? I've convinced myself. It's in whiff. Because you can't buy it.
I'm not campaigning for this to be in the top of solid. I'm just saying it's for me, bottom of solid, top of average.
Right, I'm going whiff.
Okay, wow.
Come on, AT. You know where it deserves to be.
There are going to be some angry nerds watching this.
It's top of whiff.
It's bottom of average.
Okay, I'll take
that. It's not a complete whiff. Maybe that's
behind Lurtz. I can't allow it to be behind Lurtz because Lurtz is just horrifically disappointing.
How much did we say the Army of Dunland cost?
240 for 700 points.
That's gone up now because of price increases, and
but not to £400.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I think we should go middle of average because it's not just based on price either. But I think it's expensive enough and not fun enough to mean it's not fantastic or solid.
I mean, the fact you're questioning whether the Legion needs to exist.
That's true. But that's only because I think that there are legions that I'd rather see.
But surely that's...
We've judged other legions based on that as well.
Mm.
So, I mean...
Whiff seems excessive.
Okay, well... Yeah, it's not in whiff. No, middle to bottom of average.
I don't feel like it can go above Sharkus, because Sharkus is just cool, in my personal opinion. Even though it's not
I think it goes between Sharkus and Hobbits. Pour moi.
I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah, I think from a fun and fluff point, it's probably not going to go with Hobbits, is it?
No. But I mean, I just think Sharkus, like, it's something that actually happened, is very fluffy. It's not competitive, though. But it is less expensive, weirdly.
To be fair, none of this actually happened.
You can't jump on that bandwagon. That's a joke.
Sorry, yeah, that's a horrific argument.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
Well, why are we doing any of this then?
Yeah, what's the point?
It's a good question.
We're also all going to turn to sand in 100 years. So, like, you know,
we're having an existential crisis.
If we're going to go down that road.
Why sand?
Yeah.
Dust. Am I going to be buried in a desert?
No, at the beach.
At the beach.
Yeah.
And one day...
Where Bear has killed you.
very, very unfortunate sandcastle discovery.
It's like one of those awful, like, horror thriller films where you're told when you're going to die, except Mare has just revealed where you're going to die. It's going to be a beach.
6 years
I'm not going to tell you which beach, though. Just be careful around beaches, that's all I'm saying.
Whenever he's at the seaside, just constantly on his guard.
Never go to the beach again.
Right. Defenders of Erebor. Let's go reverse order. OT, where's it going?
Fantastic.
That's really interesting.
Why?
Onod. Yeah, why? I feel like that's a bit that's strong. I was sort of thinking solid-ish.
I just really
personally, but
like it. I think it's really well done. And I think the rules
it's
are
on the
cool.
expensive side.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
guarantee it's probably
Yeah,
gonna
maybe I'm
be
being too kind.
close.
I think it may be very top of average then. I just really like it, and like, given the theme and stuff, I don't think there's a lot more they could really have done without like making it overcomplicated. So I think it does the job really well.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen some cavalry models for the men, maybe.
But I don't know if that's themey. I don't think Dale had cavalry really, and like Iron
I
Hills
mean,
have got the Goat Riders.
it's all bullshit, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
don't do that. Otherwise, we just
Everyone would have had cavalry. It's only because Games Workshop have invented this idea that they didn't. Why wouldn't
maybe
you bring
Hobbits didn't have cavalry.
They had ponies?
That doesn't count.
Does it not?
They don't count as cavalry for the purposes
No,
of
they
the
don't.
game. It just increases their movement to 8.
I understand that for the game, but I'm just saying that they are technically cavalry.
No, the game is perfect and needs no changes.
Okay.
Where are you putting it on?
I just want to quickly calculate how much it would cost before I give my thing. So you can.
I think it's about 180 to 200 pounds for a 700 point list. Was my rough guess.
I've looked at a 700 point list. I'm just going to do the maths whilst OT.
I think. I mean, it's definitely not average. It's definitely not fantastic. So unfortunately, I think it is another one in solid for me. But it's where in solid. I mean, probably above Earmares. Defenders. I've played against defenders a couple of times now, and actually, I think it's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
I'm thinking it goes just above Helm for me.
I can see that. And actually, I mean, Defenders of Helm's Deep and Defenders of Erebor, like there's a degree of similarity there, I guess. I mean, obviously they don't play out very similarly, but they're both styles.
They're both mostly infantry, two forces helping each other, similar vibes.
Roughly, based on 700 point lists I'm looking at, this is going to come in at over £300.
It's quite expensive.
Because
I suppose it's a lot of Forge World.
It's £22 for 3 dwarves.
I think the theme, though, the fact it's quite balanced. It's very collectible. Like the cost is probably the only thing letting it down. Really,
I think you're going to have a lot more fun collecting this than the Dragon Emperor. That would be my perception. Like,
people aren't going to hate you.
I don't think many people are collecting the Dragon Emperor exclusively. I don't think they can like hand on heart say that they're doing it just because they really like his theme. Because
it's bollocks.
It's bollocks.
Yeah, but it's all bollocks, isn't it?
Whilst I can imagine
some of it is less bollocks than others.
I can imagine people being genuinely like they like Dale, they like Erebor, they like them from Hobbit, they might like them from the movies, God knows. And that they
each their own
idea. And like obviously like in like video games and stuff, these guys have got a bit more attention.
The Dragon Emperor's just a faceless dude with a pointy blade, like whereas these guys are like, part of something that exists.
I would say it is fair to put them in solids.
Yeah.
So you both think that it's above Helm Hammerhand but below Defenders?
In and around Helm for me. I don't mind above or below really.
See, this is where it's difficult because you like Dwarves and I prefer Rohan, so I would rather do the Rohan ones for this.
You're saying Helm should be above?
Yeah, I think Helm's maybe a bit more iconic. I think
this has more collectability though in terms of like variety and probably more interesting than just having one named character. And then because you can do other combinations with this, you can do the dads, the sons. You could mix it if you wanted. You could have 3 of them, 4 of them.
I would rather have Theodreads than this, and I'd probably rather have Shagrat's Legendary Legion, actually, now I think about it.
But it's that personal preference or it from a Legion point of view?
Both. I think that we need to redo Solid when we get to the end. I think that
I don't want to redo
split it out into 2 more categories.
I don't think the order's right. Like, I think Theodred's guards are too low down, for example.
I was really positive about Theodred. I was really positive about
I
Theodred's, and
know,
you two
I know.
smack talked it.
I don't
I
really
know.
care for it. I don't know.
That's why I want to reassess, because I actually think I was too harsh on it. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this episode. We can sort that out later. Yeah, I would put it above the Nazgul in solids. Is my thoughts.
Sure.
Sure.
If both of you want to put it higher, then we'll go with the overall.
I think anywhere in there, to be honest. I feel like the bottom 5 in there are all the same to me. But I personally like this just because it's dwarves and it's like a nice combo, whereas the other ones there are all single faction. I quite like that this brings 2 together.
But Shaggers has the combo between him and
It's just
Gorbar.
Mordor. It's just Mordor.
Yeah, I realize they're single faction, but they're like similar concepts in the Legion. And
Well-
Theodred is mixing mounted and infantry row. How much?
But they don't bring 2 factions together in an interesting way.
No, I
That's
accept
what I'm
that.
saying.
But I didn't realize that was a quantifiably good thing about Legendary Legion.
I just think it makes it more interesting, that's all.
Our top Legendary Legion is mono-faction.
Yeah. But that has a lot of other like
OT, give your casting vote.
Put it below Theodred's and above Shagrat.
Okay. Very quick news. They have released, in the kind of time that we haven't been doing news because we weren't doing the podcasty podcast. We were doing the non-podcasty podcast.
Yeah, the bit you hated.
Yeah, the fucking endless tournament talk of just misery. We were really fucking depressed in those episodes, is all I'm going to say.
I mean, you were.
You were as well.
I think I was less. I was less obviously depressed.
Okay. They released the Faramir and Gothmog separately.
It's very kind of them.
£27.50.
Jesus wept.
New prices are a bit moved, and
It's a little bit spicy, isn't it?
they're also for some reason direct from GW, so you can't get a discount on them.
Rip.
It feels like
Did you
better
see-
value for Faramir because you get 3 heroes.
You see, Dunland is now 55 quid for 12 warriors or something.
Jesus.
It's a hefty oof.
Good job. But I don't want to collect Dunland.
What else has happened?
Apparently there's going to be 10th edition of 40k.
Who cares? They're like seasons of Rocket League. They just go by and it just doesn't impact
Yeah.
anybody.
There's going to be like a big release next week of new stuff, but Middle-earth's not on the list, which is a bit sad, isn't it?
Well, but normally the last one's to get new things.
It feels like they haven't done anything Middle-earth now in a long time, though, other than just release a new box set.
The terrain we got was nice.
They haven't released it yet.
I know, but it still exists.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd expect a new book to be on the way soon.
Yeah.
Let
The
it
Last
be
Alliance.
the Last Alliance source book or Khazad-dûm. Either
Yeah.
one of those, I'm fine with.
That sounds good to me.
Anything else is a crock of shit.
People already play Last Alliance though, and it's very competitive, so I'm a bit worried that they might just make it really good.
Okay,
I
well,
want
make
to
it
power
see.
creep it.
I'd like to see Scaring the Shard 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
More
Twice
Hobbit
as many traps.
Fuck's sake. They can already get 16.
24 traps.
And they're
Or
on
is it
40, and
24?
they're on
No,
40
it's
mil
16.
bases.
40 more bases and introduce another 6 varieties.
Yeah, they still can't spear support though.
Yeah,
Firework traps.
firework traps. That's
Yep, just mildly scare your opponents.
yeah. I don't think anything else has happened, to be honest.
No.
Good. Have a shit weekend, everyone.
Yes. What do we do next week? Bears, isn't it?
Yep, bears and something else.
Insert
Bears and Dale.
office clip here.
Fact. Bears eat beets.
Oh.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Bears do not.
What is going on? What are you doing?
Bears
Which
beats
one? Oh.
Battlestar Galactica.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. What is going on here? What are you doing?
Michael?
Michael? Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
Joke, Jim.
Millions
Millions of
of
Americans
Americans
suffer every year.
Good.
What kind of bear is best? False. Black bear.
Black bear.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Next week, like and subscribe. Ding the bell.